Okay, how do we build a fair and just society? I mean, that's a huge question, right? But what if the answer, or at least a big part of it, could be found somewhere we've all been? We're going to explore this whole thing through a surprisingly simple metaphor. Let's dive in and see what a childhood playground can actually teach us about something as complex as ethical governance.
So really, what can a playground, a place with swings and slides, teach us about these massive, complex systems like markets or laws or just getting along? Well, it turns out a whole lot. The dynamics you see on a playground, they're like a perfect miniature version of the big challenges we all face in society.
All right, let's just lay out the ground rules for this metaphor. Think of it like this. Society, that's the playground. All of us, the citizens, we're the kids. And the government, the regulators, all those institutions, they're the teacher. And their one job? To make sure everyone gets to play fairly. But what happens when the game isn't fair? I mean, before you can fix anything, you've got to figure out what's broken in the first place. So this first step is all about diagnosing the chaos.
And you've seen this, right? We all have. The bigger kids are hogging the swings, fights are breaking out over who's next, and some of the smaller kids are just completely left out. This isn't about a few bad apples. No, it's a sign that the whole system, the playground itself, is failing. The fundamental rules of engagement are totally broken.
So the teacher needs a way to get to the root of the problem, right? This is where this really cool concept called the trust ethics nexus, or 10 for short, comes into play. Think of it as a diagnostic tool. It measures these two invisible forces that are really running the show on the playground, trust and ethics. And if those two things get out of whack, well, that's when you get chaos. Okay, let's break down this idea of trust, because it's not just one big thing. First, you've got vertical trust. That's, do the kids actually believe the teacher is going to be fair? And then there's horizontal trust. Do the kids believe they can cooperate with each other? For this whole playground to work, you absolutely positively need both.
And here's what that looks like in practice. When trust and ethics are broken, this is the result. I mean, just look at this. The playground is running on 90% pure chaos. Fairness? It's barely even there, just 10%. This is the broken system that the teacher is staring at, the one they have to fix.
All right, so the problem's been diagnosed. The teacher can't just sit back and watch, right? It is time for action. So stage 2 is all about facilitating fair play. Basically, active management. So the teacher starts with 3 key moves. Step 1, set clear, simple rules. That's your policy right there. Step 2, offer incentives. Praise the kids who cooperate and share. That encourages the good behavior. And step 3, share the resources. You got to make sure everyone actually gets a turn on the swings. Now, this is super important. This isn't a one-and-done kind of fix. By constantly giving feedback, stepping in when a rule gets broken, explaining why it matters, the teacher starts to build this positive feedback loop. The kids start to see that the rules are real, they're fair, and so trust starts to grow. And pretty soon, fair play starts to reinforce itself. But, and this is a huge but, there's a limit to just managing behavior. This quote right here really gets to the heart of it. You could have the world's best teacher, but if the playground itself is designed unfairly, like what if all the coolest slides are in a spot only the tallest kids can even get to, then all that management is never, ever going to be enough. And that brings us to the third, and honestly, the most important stage. See, it's not enough to just manage the players. You have to redesign the whole game. It's time to rebuild the playground from the ground up. Now, the official name for this really deep structural fix is the Re-GIT Probabilistic Governance Model, or RPGM. It's a mouthful, I know, but the idea is simple. Forget just managing what the kids do day to day. This is about building fairness right into the playground itself, into its very structure, so it lasts. And the cornerstone of this whole model is something called the Re-GIT Ethical Filter. Think of it like a gatekeeper. Before any new rule is made or any new toy is brought onto the playground, it has to pass a simple but really powerful 3-question test. Okay, test number 1. Does it strengthen trust in the teacher? Simple as that. Will this new rule make the kids trust the person in charge more? Does it seem open and fair? Because if a rule erodes that trust, well, it fails the first and maybe the most important test right there.
Next up, test number 2. Does it protect ethics and ensure inclusion for all the children? Not just some, but all of them, especially the most vulnerable kids. Does it encourage everyone to work together? A rule that helps one group but hurts another? That's just not ethical, and it fails this test, period.
And the final question, test number 3, is it truly necessary? I mean, really, does this rule help everyone have more fun and grow? Or is it just a rule for the sake of having a rule, just adding more complexity? Every policy needs to have a clear, shared purpose. Now, this model also has 2 other really powerful ideas. First, there's the probabilistic equalization mechanism, or PEM. It's basically a smart way to make sure the kids who are always stuck at the back of the line actually get a fair shot. Then there's the Permanent Citizens Council, the PCC. This is so cool. It's a rotating group of the kids themselves who help manage the rules. That way, the rules stay fair and up to date.
All right, so we've taken this playground from total chaos to something completely redesigned and fair. Let's zoom out for a second and just recap why this whole journey from chaos to structure really matters.
So here it is, the whole thing in 3 simple steps. Step 1, diagnose the system's trust and ethics. You got to know what's wrong. Step 2, facilitate fair interactions with good rules. That's the short-term fix. And step 3, restructure the system for permanent fairness. That's the real game changer.
And this is the payoff. Just look at this chart. After restructuring, the playground is now at 95% fairness. Chaos has been pushed way down to almost nothing. This isn't just a band-aid. It's a fundamental, deep transformation of the entire system. Because, at the end of the day, it's simple. A well-designed playground makes for happy, cooperative kids. And in the exact same way, a well-designed governance system creates a society that's equitable, sustainable, and resilient. The design of the system, well, it determines everything.
So the real goal here isn't to create some perfect static set of rules that never changes. No, the goal is to create a living system, one that can adapt and evolve over time. Because trust and ethics aren't just things you enforce, they're permanently baked right into the system's DNA.
And that leaves us with one final big question to chew on. If our society, our economy, our communities, if it's all just one big playground, then we have to ask ourselves, who's designing the rules? And more importantly, whose game are they designing it for?